some news in the cage to get to with regard to some of the pre-fight talk and the talk with Dana White. Number one, you had the nugget the other day, Anderson Silva, which to me is amazing that because I do believe he could fight at 220 pounds and be competitive as a heavyweight, and now he is talking about going down to 170. How the heck can he do that?
Yeah, he said it's been 5 years since he's made 170. And the interesting thing there, Steve, is he said he's going to fight one time against an opponent to see if he can make it, to see how it goes. If he's successful with that, then he's talking about, okay, we're going to go forward, and I'll see if I can fight George St. Pierre. You know, Anderson is so respectful and the kind of guy that he is that he doesn't want to say, I want a title shot to beat George St. Pierre for the welterweight title. But, you know, that's what he's saying. I think it's phenomenal. You know, Dana made the point that, hey, GSP can't move up. He's too, not big enough to fight Anderson Silva. Anderson says, okay, I'll go down. Much respect for that. But the thing, to me, is he's talking about fighting Brock Lesnar. And can you imagine Anderson Silva against Brock Lesnar? I mean, it would just be incredible.
It's crazy.
Or, potentially it could be Shane Carwin, right? You don't know. If Shane Carwin, hey, I give Shane a good chance to win that fight against Brock Lesnar. If Shane knocks out Brock Lesnar, we're going to have Anderson Silva fighting a guy with 5X hands. He'll have hands as big as Anderson's head.
The note about going down to 170 is intriguing as well because it puts a new twist on the story with GSP because GSP he can't get big enough to move up. So it actually, if he was trying to avoid Anderson Silva, it really puts a lot of pressure on him.
I don't. You know what? Here's the thing. I don't think he was trying to avoid Anderson Silva. Yeah. I think he just realized. I mean, he's actually trying to do it. He said, when we were in New York, he said he's up to 191 now. He's trying to put on weight, but he just doesn't have the kind of frame. You look at guys like three guys that come to mind: John Jones, Phil Davis, and Anderson Silva. They've got the frame that they can add on. In the case of Phil, they could be 235, 240 and be in, lean, mint condition and be big, big heavyweights. I don't think Anderson could really get up to be that big, but he does have a big frame. He's a tall man that I think he could actually put the weight on it and be okay, like you said, at a 220. But, so he said basically if, the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad will go to the mountain, and that's what he's going to do.
It's interesting, though, because I know a lot of media guys who actually have the frame to get up to 240, 250 pretty easily.
Yeah, I think I've managed to pull that one off.
All right. Renzo Gracie, speaking of weight, I was at the Q&A in Charlotte when Renzo was there. I found the guy to be really an interesting speaker and a genuinely likable guy. But he talked about his return to MMA and moving in with UFC, and he basically, let's talk about his personality and him brokering the deal, and I could see it happening. After hearing the guy, like I said, he's really engaging, and I think whether he wins here or he fights again, I really think he can actually serve a purpose on the staff and be almost an ambassador for the sport.
Yeah, and I brought up to Dana today about would Renzo be a potential coach for the Middle East, and he said, that Renzo Gracie would certainly be a guy that they would consider. But you're right. I mean, Renzo Gracie is one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. Just when you talk to him, you feel like you've known him all your life. And I've talked to a number of fighters about Renzo Gracie, and they all say the exact same thing. Matt Hughes was complimentary of him at the press conference, and in the interview I did with Matt afterwards, Matt just couldn't say enough things about him. I mean, he's such a good guy, such a good ambassador for the sport, and he's the kind of guy that you want representing your sport. He's articulate, he's intelligent, he's a good fighter, he's a good guy. That's the kind of guy, that if you're Roger Goodell or if you're Gary Bettman or you're that other guy that runs the NBA that doesn't like Las Vegas, if you're any of those guys, that's the kind of athlete you want. Yeah. And that's certainly what Renzo Gracie is. I think he's a fabulous representative for the sport of MMA and for the UFC now.